So what is the science, though, when you're trying to figure out what company to get next?
So very often when we look at a new startup, it's pretty easy to tell when it's going to be a small startup. But it's hard to tell when it's going to be a big one. Right? So you just take a swing at the plate. You support the entrepreneurs and have them go at it. And you don't know how big it's going to be, but that doesn't stop you from investing. You eliminate the ones that are unlikely to be big, that are going to be small, and you try and invest in the ones that could be big, but you have no idea. And then your job, and this is really, really important and misunderstood about startups. Startups aren't big or small, they're made big or small. So an entrepreneur picking the right partner will more likely end up as a big company than if they pick the wrong partner who wants a 3x return on money. Any investor who looks at exit strategies or multiples of investment, or even does an IRR calculation, a rate of return calculation, probably is the wrong partner for you. He's not going to help you build a great entity. Large returns come not from making a good investment, it comes from helping an entrepreneur realize their vision. Help them build a big company.
As you said, the VC is pretty much a co-founder, or at least that's how they should be.
That's how you should view a VC, and you want somebody who wants to build a big company. Right?
And you also mentioned you're kind of taking a swing at it, and when it comes to green tech and renewable energy resources, it seems like everyone is trying to take a swing at it. There's so many different technologies bubbling up to the surface. So when you're looking at this industry, which ones do you think have the most potential and will hit that proper scalability?
I think a lot of people are taking swings at it, but most of the swings are very, very incremental. It's because it's a new area, people are afraid to try new things. And that's exactly the wrong thing to do. So we're trying new things. We invest in agriculture technology, for God's sake. We invested in a nuclear reactor. We invested in these little portable solid oxide fuel cells that people in Kenya can use to charge their cell phones if they don't have electricity. The range is so wide. We invest in new air conditioning. People would say it's crazy to reinvent air conditioning, or the light bulb, or the engine. The engine's been optimized. I'll tell you, 10 times more improvement is possible in the engine than most people think is true, or in your standard car.
But you still feel like we're very far away from properly innovating the engine today?
I think we are far away from taking enough large shots at it. One of our companies, EcoMotors, is dramatically redesigning the engine. They're building what's called an opposing piston engine. Most engines today are like V8s. You hear about it all the time. That kind of rethinking, and these opposing piston engines were used in the 1920s and discontinued for a reason. But those reasons are no longer true, but people don't go back and examine the assumptions again. This needs to happen in every area, whether it's solar cells or even looking at coal or cleaning up coal or mining or air conditioning or lighting, or almost everything we do, even building materials. We're reinventing glass, we're reinventing cement, we're reinventing plastics, we're reinventing water. So we're working on all those things. It's pretty exciting.
And going back to those engines, you talked about them, with such enthusiasm. I mean, you clearly see that as being an important part of your portfolio. What pieces need to align to help this technology take off?
I don't think a lot needs to align. We build a great engine. We'll first find some specialty markets. So we make, instead of putting it in a car day one, because those companies are conservative, we'll make generators out of it, gensets out of it. That's an easier market to get into. It's less cost sensitive, but efficiency and weight still count. Right? And as soon as we prove it there, we'll be in autos. Already we are talking to auto and truck makers.
Although it's really hard when you say adoption, it's just one of the things you have to do. That's probably the biggest hurdle, right? Convincing the end user, the consumer, and the manufacturers.
But it's true if you're doing Facebook too. You look at the hundreds of startups, most of them will fail on adoption. And even the good ideas often fail because of adoption. So it's true of all innovators. It's a common problem entrepreneurs and innovators face. Sometimes they can't build the right innovative product, sometimes they misjudge the product, but most of the time it's a good idea, it's a great idea, they can't get adoption or get their message across. And it's very frustrating, but that's what entrepreneurs do. That's why they're good at banging their head against the wall till they succeed.
I have one final question for you. So your daughter is here, she is an entrepreneur as well, and you told me you're kind of taking her under your wing. So what is the advice that you're telling her, and to any entrepreneurs who are looking up to you, if there's one or two things that you think all entrepreneurs should know, what should that be?
So I'm not funding her.
Yes.
She's looking for angel funders. I think that's the right way to do it. She is looking for developers, co-partners, co-founders, all sorts, to build a team. I think the single most important fact about doing a startup is being clear about your vision and not let it get distorted by what pundits and experts tell you. But the second most important thing is finding the right team. And that's really, really hard because people tend to look for people around them, and so it's the person who they happen to know as opposed to the best possible person you could find.
How did you do it? How did you find the right team?
You know, I was relentless. It took a lot of time. I used to say when I was starting my first company, I was much more of a glorified recruiter than a CEO or a founder. I really spent probably well over 50% of my time recruiting, and I encourage all entrepreneurs to try and do that. It's also hard because you've never hired a marketing person before. You don't know what a good marketing person is. You don't even know what a good developer is. So whose judgment to trust, whose advice to take is really, really hard. And that's what I now try and do for entrepreneurs. That's why our website says venture assistants, not venture capitalists. I hate the term venture capitalists.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
Once again, my guest has been Vinod Khosla, entrepreneur, investor extraordinaire.